What's happening, gamer friends? On this week's episode of The Gaming Outsider, Zack, Alyssa, and I discuss the strangely controversial topic of easy modes included in some games. We also talk about Valve's answer to the Nintendo Switch and a new game from Ubisoft with Tom Clancy in the title. New games discussed include The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, Where the Heart Leads, and an indie title called Within the Blade. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 355 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, July 19th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my friends, Zack Parkerson. What's up?
Well, how do you do, Scott?
I'm doing quite well, man. Thanks for being here. And also, our officially verified co-host, Alyssa White. How are you doing, Alyssa?
I'm okay. How are you doing, Scott? I'm
a little envious that you got your little white check mark on Twitter, and I don't. That's pretty amazing.
I still don't know how it happened. It's
because you're so amazing, Alyssa. Of course.
Oh.
You know, we've been doing this podcast for what now, Zack? 6 years? 5, 6 years?
Long. It's been great every day of it.
Alyssa's been here 3 months, and she's already superior to us. This is great.
It's not fair to you guys.
No, it's not about being. Hey, if you work hard, you get it. That's awesome. No, we're genuinely really happy for you. That's kind of awesome. So
don't speak for
you.
Me.
I am genuinely happy for you, Alyssa.
Oh, thank you, Scott.
I'm just genuinely happy for you.
Oh, thank you, Zack.
I'm really excited to talk to you guys this week. Zack has a package coming in the mail that I haven't told him what it is.
You keep mentioning it. Well, I'll tell you live to tape here, Scott. You will have a package coming to you in the coming days as well.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's a little gift exchange. You had no idea.
I didn't. It's going to be really exciting. You know what I almost did? I almost stopped by Beefaroo to pick up some seasoned salt to drop in there for you, but I kind of thought you already had some.
I am low, but I do appreciate the consideration.
Yeah. Well, next time I'll make sure to get you a new tub. Anyway.
Speaking of packages, my birthday is next week.
Oh, your birthday's next week?
Next Friday, yeah.
So a week from this 30th? Friday.
Yeah.
30th, is that right?
Yep, the 30th.
Nice.
Okay.
I will actually I'll be in Portland that weekend. So I will be sure to send you a happy birthday greeting of some sort.
Yay!
But anyway, let's get into some of the games that we've been catching up on this week. Zack, I see Xenogears on the list. Have you really been playing Xenogears?
Yeah, buddy. I have.
Oh man, I haven't played that game in 15 years.
How much of it did you play? Did you beat it?
No. I just barely scratched the surface. It was a game that people told me I had to play as a person that loved RPGs, and I scoured eBay and finally got a copy of it, and I played it for a little while and just never went back to it for some reason.
Alyssa, do you have any familiarity with Xenogears?
I've heard of it, and I've heard people gush about it, but I've never played it.
All right, guys. It's really good. This 1998, I'm fairly certain, hit JRPG that's come into my life. It's really good.
This is the first time you played it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I booted up my Vita because I wanted to buy some PSP games before the store closed, and then they announced that you will still be able to buy PSP and PS1 games on Vita for the foreseeable future. So I don't know what's happening with the PlayStation stores.
Right,
they're making it up as I go. But then I was looking for Xenogears because I was like, oh man, make sure I get this before it goes away. But it turns out I had already owned it, so I downloaded that and. Yeah, booted it up, and I'm like 2.5 hours in. I am shocked at how much storyline they've packed into just the first 2 hours.
Interesting. I remember it being pretty dialogue heavy.
Yeah, I would say I've played very little so far.
Uh-huh.
And that's okay. But it's a lot of story, but it gets dark right away. There's a lot of a shocking amount of pathos for only being a couple hours into a JRPG, which tend to be incredibly slow.
Mm-hmm.
But the main character Faye has already been put through the paces, and I am shocked at it's just like a cool look because it's like 2D sprites but a 3D polygonal background.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you how it looked,
and it looks cool, and the combat has like a combo system where because your main character is a martial artist. So you have like a light, heavy, and extra heavy attack, and they each take a certain amount of action points, but you can build combos during the combat.
Oh.
So it's more involved than most turn-based JRPGs in the way that, like Paper Mario and stuff is. I don't know, man. It's cool. And then, I don't know, the tech they're doing on PS1 where, there'll be characters fighting in the foreground on the battle plane, or they'll be like in the background. You kind of have to like aim around. It's really cool, man. I'm really digging it. And I don't know why I decided to start this while I'm also starting Skyward Sword, which we'll talk about later, because these are two epic length games at the same time.
Right.
But I don't think I'm putting this down anytime soon, because the characters have already gripped me significantly.
That's really intriguing. It makes me wish I had a Vita.
Yeah, I love my Vita. Love it to death.
I've never played a Vita. I don't think I've ever even held a Vita in my hands.
That's my experience with the Wii U.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Interesting. So I may have to put that one on my list to check out at some point in the near future. As for me, I promise, guys, I will stop talking about this game in the near future, but I played through and finished another run of Asylon Tears of the Earth, which I am loving. Obviously, I've been loving this game, but I played it on Xbox this time. But this time, I actually went through and got 100%. I 100% of the map, 100% of the items, 100% of all the bestiary. Did everything.
Got the full 1,000, right?
No, not yet, because as it turns out, there are some secret achievements, because when you beat the game, it unlocks additional modes, one of which is a boss rush mode, which, if you've played the game, you probably think to yourself, oh, it's not that bad, just use your characters and just run through those bosses, no problem, because they're really easy when you're powered. No, the game actually starts you over from square one and makes you fight all those bosses without your previous characters. But they do it in an interesting way, because after you beat the first boss, it takes you to like a staging room for the next boss, and it gives you a choice of one of 3 items, major items that you get throughout the main game to help you in the boss battle later on, which is kind of cool. So I don't know, it's just you kind of level up a little bit, but it definitely will take some dexterity. You're not going to be able to overpower a boss in boss rush mode. But then on top of that, there are 2 additional modes, and I have to be careful because I don't want to do any. I know you're still playing through it, Zach. I don't want to ruin any of the story, but you play as a different character, as a different singular character.
Does the character have a color in his name?
One of them does, yes.
Okay. That sounds cool. If it's who I think it is, I guess.
And then the other one is just completely unexpected. But the funny thing is that both of these characters play completely different from the 3 characters that you play as in the main game. And again, you start from scratch. But it's just so cool. Like the one character that I played as, you only have like 30 hit points, or I think he actually has 40 hit points. But you discover that the game doesn't tell you this. You just discover that, you know how there's like pools of blood occasionally?
Yeah.
The pools of blood replenish your health. Like, so.
Oh, that's because they only slow you down in the main game.
Right. They slow you down in the main game, but in this game, as this character, they replenish your health, which is, key, because it's not like you're playing through the full game like you did with the other 3 characters. It took me, like, playing as that character, it probably took me about 45 minutes to beat that round once I knew where to go, because you're just basically going from the beginning of the game to the first boss, to the second boss, to the third boss, and that's it. But if you die, it's game over, right? But remember the campfires that you normally use just to like kind of save your game and switch your character or whatever? That is an actual save point now. So if you die, you can restart from the last save point. So I don't know. It was really, really cool. So I've got 2 more playthroughs to go through. The other character that I have not talked about, and the boss rush mode. And man, it is so satisfying getting 100% on that map, dude.
I believe it is the percentage ticks up slower than I would have expected when I first started. It's a big map.
It is a big map. It's something like over 500 rooms, which, and as you've discovered, and I actually was talking to Chris Owens, who's playing this game. He hit a wall, and I'm like, dude, just keep searching. And then all of a sudden, bam, he texts me and says he just found a hidden wall, and all of a sudden there's like an extra 1/5 of the map that he just discovered. And like that feeling is just so freaking cool. So
yeah, what I when you discovered that up is not the only direction you can go.
Right.
It's pretty cool. And then like I've apparently skipped 2 elevator spots, which is also cool because it means that the map is open enough that I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucked running to the bosses, but
I'll bet.
it was an amazing experience knowing that, like, you know, the game is so open to different playstyles that, yeah, I just missed out on some key elevator locations.
Mm-hmm. The exploration is definitely rewarding, just because.
Yes. Yeah.
When you find, I don't know if you've come across how many items you've come across, but when you come across that one item, I'm not talking about one in particular, but just multiple times, I would be like, where has this been my whole life? And this game just completely changed, like, how I feel about this game just because of this one item. It's just awesome. I love it. So if it's not clear, I love this game. My review is up on the site. It's got a 10 out of 10. I think it's the first 10 out of 10 I've done since Link's Awakening, the remake. So this is the first.
Final Fantasy VII Remake?
You're right. So this is the first 10 out of 10 that was not a remake.
Yeah. Yeah. The first 10 out of 10 that isn't directly influenced by any potential nostalgia.
Right.
Although I would argue Final Fantasy VII Remake is not inspired by nostalgia.
I get what you're saying, but
yeah. Well, I can't say more.
Right. Anyway, I love this game. I've had listeners message me, and one actually messaged me and said, "Thank you for recommending this game. This was so good." And then he actually asked me a question about something that he didn't understand, that wasn't explained. That's not explained in the game. You just have to, like, figure it out. And I told him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense, and that's really cool." So, man, I can't wait until you finish this game, dude.
Their PR/marketing team has to give you a special thank you.
I'm not looking for I just
think you've had to have sold. You've had to have sold a notable percentage of their copies at this point.
You think
at
so?
least 0.5% or something.
Something. But I'm not worried about it. I just want people to enjoy the game. And I was telling you this, like, that it's a really good feeling making a recommendation to somebody, and then they play the game and they love it almost as much or just as much as you did. That's a really cool feeling. Could you imagine how good it would feel to be the person that made a game that made somebody feel that way? It just makes me so envious of people that have artistic ability or chops to be able to do this kind of thing and just make somebody's day, or in my case, made my month. I mean, this game is just like, I think you said, you texted me and said that you'd be shocked if this isn't my game of the year. It's going to be tough to top. I mean, how many of the games have I played through a second time on a different platform?
Right, and you're still playing it. You played through it twice and you're still playing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty unprecedented.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'll play through the main game anymore because there's nothing left to do. You know what I mean? There's literally nothing left to do. All the stuff that's left to do, because I really want that 1,000 achievement points, is to go through and play these other modes and unlock. I even leveled up all the characters, man. Like, maxed them out. Because there's an achievement for maxing out each individual character, and then an achievement that pops for achieving all of them, or leveling all of them up. I found a place to farm. I was after certain upgrades and buffs, found a boss that I could kill over and over again, and each time I killed him, it would give me 2,700 orbs. I would just kill him over and over and over again, and spent time. I mean, I just grinded and I loved it. I don't know.
Looking forward to your Summer Games Done Quick video entry for Astalon speedrun.
Oh no, dude! I have looked up some videos of people that have speedrun the game already, and it's insane. It's nuts.
Damn.
But yeah, I mean, the game's been out for like a month and a half, I want to say. We were actually late to the party on this one.
Which does seem somehow long enough for people to crack the games wide open.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, that's the games we've been catching up on. Let's jump into the week's news. All right, first things first, we got a new game from Ubisoft and a trailer to boot. Tom Clancy's X Defiant. Also, Valve announced their upcoming Steam Deck handheld console. Lots to talk about there. Sad news, Lemnis Gate's been delayed. And also, Netflix could be getting into the video game market as well. Alyssa, any of these stories intrigue you?
I'm just intrigued by the fact that Netflix is trying to get into the gaming market, which, I mean, I get why, because more subscribers, even though they're supposedly not gonna charge any extra. But, they did Bandersnatch, they had Minecraft story mode on it. I don't really see what they could do besides that kind of stuff, more of that.
I imagine it would be a different client than you wouldn't go to the Netflix app and play a game, yeah. Right? I mean, what do you think?
I bet you would. I think you would. Yeah, I would think that would be the smartest way to get people to use it.
So, what kind of game are we? I mean, I use my phone for Netflix more than anything else. I don't really use any apps on my television. So, Are we talking mobile games?
I mean, I would still think console kind of experiences, whatever they may be. I mean, I know I use my Netflix almost exclusively through my game consoles, so it'd be pretty easy, easy there. That would be my assumption because the article mentions that it would be rolled into your existing membership, so it wouldn't be anything extra. And I think if you really want people to use it as a service, your best bet is to incorporate it into the current service.
You make a good point. I'll bet you that would get me to use the Netflix app on my console as opposed to on my smart TV. My smart TV has the app on it. So right. I would probably be more likely to go into my Xbox or PlayStation to get to the Netflix app for whatever they're going to offer me there instead, which, that's got to make some people happy, right?
Oh yeah, because I don't go through my consoles to get to Netflix. I go through the straight TV, smart TV.
Yeah, either that or a Chromecast. I just use my phone. Like if I'm upstairs, I use the Chromecast. If I'm downstairs, I use the smart TV app. So, but they're talking within the next year, so it's not that far off, which is surprising. And I guess a lot of people are getting those little deals where you hook up your cell phone to a controller. So if I could just do it on my phone and that'd be great. I'm just really curious to see what titles are going to be available on Netflix and if it's going to be streaming only or are they, because Netflix still does have discs, right?
Yeah, they still have that service.
So are they going to kind of compete with GameFly at all? Are they going to have physical copies of games?
No way. I mean, the DVD thing is funny. I didn't think they still did it, but I have a couple regulars at work who get all of their stuff by DVD and Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah, and he just told me, or one, the gentleman of the couple just told me he got an email saying they're Netflix is getting some kind of exclusive Mandalorian Blu-ray that's only being distributed through them or something like that.
Okay,
which is crazy because that way people who don't stream can still watch the Mandalorian, and that's crazy.
And what isn't Disney $7 a month or something?
Yeah, almost insultingly inexpensive right now.
Right.
It's just I don't know. Netflix making moves out there.
But furthermore with this story, I want to see what you guys feel about this because this made me a little bit nervous because they hired Mike Verdu, who was an executive at EA and at Zynga as VP of game development. Now, the reason I get a little twitchy is because I know what Zynga does with...
As soon as you said Zynga, I was like, Farmville.
Well, Farmville and Zynga is also behind Candy Crush and stuff, right?
That was King,
right?
Wasn't it?
King, you're right.
Yeah, that's King, yeah.
But Zynga was behind the legendary puzzle phone game Drop 7 that you should all play.
Which I still have on my phone, by the way.
Tetris with numbers. It's a lot of fun.
It's a brain teaser for sure. That works your brain.
You said
in a
numbers.
Weird way.
I don't want to do it.
It's only up to 7.
Numbers.
It's not that hard.
Do you know how often I mess up simple math?
All right, okay.
Every day. Every day.
Well, she can. Can't count that.
And then I have to I'll figure it out in my mind after I've already said the answer. I'm like, no, the right answer is this.
But
or someone will correct me and they'll be like, that's not the answer, Alyssa.
Math. It's so crazy how math is super easy for some people and just a mental block. But then other things are it's crazy to me. But anyway, Zach, what else interests you in this list of stories?
I did want to channel my inner CB real quick and just get mad about Tom Clancy's X-Defiant.
Okay.
I mean, are they just trying to do everything they can to make Tom Clancy's name worthless? it used to mean something, right? In games, it used to mean a very specific thing.
It did.
And now they got aliens and weird punk rock shooters, as they're calling it in the trailer.
Well, and here's the thing is, I don't know, this thing was kind of teased yesterday as of this recording. There was a whole thing on Twitter. It was like, hey, stay tuned for this thing that's coming from Ubisoft tomorrow. And what we saw looked like a military shooter. And I still didn't, my mind still didn't go to Tom Clancy, because Tom Clancy just doesn't even feel like military shooter anymore. But yeah, this just, the thing that stuck out to me was that there was like 2 or 3 characters on this artwork that have night vision goggles. So it's almost like they're slapping people in the face, or slapping
Splinter Cell
fans in the face. Like, say, yeah, we'll give you I don't know.
Yes, it appears there are Splinter Cells in this game, but they refuse to make a Splinter Cell game.
Right.
See, they can bring Sam Fisher and Ghost Recon and a weird version of him, Rainbow Six, and even in a mobile game, but you bet your ass they're never going to make a Sam Fisher game again.
I don't understand it. And this game may be very quality, if, for people that enjoy multiplayer games. Watching the release video when they were talking to some of the devs from Ubisoft, it felt very much like when they released Apex Legends. Like it was that kind of talk, which I liked Apex Legends, don't get me wrong, but I just don't need another free-to-play shooter with microtransactions to play online. I understand this is the new hotness with a certain generation or demographic. I'm just not of that demographic. I can't get excited for X Defiant.
Their big marketing hook is that you put the capital X and the capital D together and it makes a silly face.
Is that really it?
Yeah, if you look at the title logo, it's like spray painted to the side, the X and the D, making the wacky face, and it looks ridiculous.
They're just like celebrating the emoticon.
Yeah, they're bringing the emoticon back, man.
Right.
Who needs emojis anymore?
Right. It's but that their announcement trailer. Like in movies when a kid has to talk at the front of the class and you feel so awkward for him that you have to like hide your face behind a pillow?
Right.
That's how I felt watching the announcement trailer. It was so cringy. It was very embarrassing. Watching like these dudes who look like they're approaching 40 years old talking about how punk rock their shooter is. Their shooter backed by the biggest game publisher around right now. And they're just like, yeah, we're making this punk rock little shooter. What? With the Tom Clancy branding on it. It's unfortunate that Tom Clancy died and then they immediately gave up on any idea of realistic credibility.
I'm not quoting him perfectly, but CB said something on Facebook to the effect of Tom Clancy must be rolling over in his grave right now.
Yeah.
Because between this and what they did with, was it Quarantine? Or they changed it from Quarantine to something else?
I think it's Extraction now.
Yeah, Extraction.
Extraction, thank you.
One boring subtitle for the other.
Yeah, I understand why they changed it from...
Well, definitely, but it's just...
Yeah.
It looks really... This game looks dumb.
I've talked to a lot of people on our Discord and Facebook that are excited for it. They think, especially because it's free to play. It doesn't cost them anything to play it, and it's just another... But to me, it's just another one. I loved Apex at launch, and I had some fun with it. But it's not a game I want to go back to. That's just me personally. I don't play those kinds of games for lengthy periods of time. I'm always looking for the next thing I can play.
I think I just didn't realize how big a Tom Clancy fan I was. Like when I see the name, I expect a slow paced military thinking man shooter, and they were all pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an absolute shame to see what has become of the brand.
Right. And just like you even his books, like you just think espionage and
right, or Jack Ryan or whatever.
Right.
It's just it's not this wacky cartoon nonsense.
Like, what does it have to do with? Is it just straight up brand recognition? That's all they're doing.
Yeah. Is it just the night vision goggles at this point? Is that all Tom Clancy means? Night vision?
Like that's the only thing that resembles Tom Clancy on that is his night vision goggles. I think the phrase you used when you texted me about this in disgust, by the way, I kind of wish people could read our conversation, was I think you said first off that you felt dumber for even knowing about this information.
Yeah,
and then
it's bad form to laugh at your own jokes, but yeah, I was like, I am dumber for having known this exists.
But then you said something. Oh, I forgot what you said. It said it looked like a weird Final Fantasy clone shooter or something.
I said the cover art looks like it would be like a Final Fantasy knockoff shooter.
Yeah, but there's a character with tentacles off his face, literally.
Yeah, it looks like the art style of the Final Fantasy VII remake, but seen through the eyes of a fourth grader.
Yeah, that's a good point. I get the impression, well, it's because it's class-based, I get the impression that somewhat it's like an Overwatch killer, or an attempted Overwatch killer.
Right, yeah, a hero shooter.
Which, good luck. But
right, yeah.
I don't know. We, for a game that we're really not interested in, we're talking about it quite a bit.
I am just sad, because you know how much I love Sam Fisher.
I know. It'll happen one day, man. It'll happen.
Just remake Chaos Theory at this one. That's easy money.
I think you're right. Why not do that? They're remaking Prince of Persia.
Right, and it's been, 16 years since Chaos Theory? Like, the nostalgia is definitely there.
Yeah.
That's a cash grab.
Do it. That's original Xbox, right?
It was, yeah. Yeah, probably one of the best-looking Xbox games for sure. Just give me... I will pay you $40 for the bank mission.
Really?
It's so good. I can play that thing endlessly.
I don't know if I've played Chaos Theory. I played...
I haven't.
I played the one where you...
Y'all...
The one where you could do the mirrors under the doors. What was the one
You sounded so southern there, Zach, and I'm the southern person.
Did you say y'all?
Y'all.
Yeah, y'all. Well, you could wait like a car mirror under the door.
No. It was like part of the mechanics, like
the optic. Yeah, it was just you can do that in all of them. I was trying to narrow it down somewhat.
You could like mark people on the other side of the door.
Yeah, you think of Conviction?
Conviction, yeah.
Yeah, that game's good. That game's the best.
I like Conviction a lot. It was an interesting story too, like really good.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to talk about the Valve Steam Deck because I saw this news and it looks like Steam is making a switch, so to speak, not playing Nintendo games.
Double entendre, I see.
But not playing Switch games, but playing games from your Steam library portably. I think, Zach, did I not message you and you said something to the effect of, I think because I got the news before you did. And you're like, well, I'll be shocked if it happens. And I'm like, well, dude, it's coming out this December.
Well, that did not change my appraisal of the situation.
You still don't think it's going to work?
No, I'm sure it will. It's just Valve is pretty notorious for cooking up some idea and then quickly abandoning it.
Okay.
Remember the Steam Link? They eventually they were free.
I have a Steam Link. I paid $5 for it, and I could not figure out how to get it to work the way that they advertised it.
That's why when you tell me Valve is doing something, or remember the Steam machines that they were doing, where it was supposed to be like a console PC.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, Valve's pretty good about coming up with a great idea and then abandoning it entirely.
Now you're making me depressed, man, because
well. If you'll note, even the APU, Zen 2 plus RDNA 2 in this thing, they still can't use a 3 anywhere, man. Can't trust Valve.
And I read an article yesterday that said something like half of the top 10 games on Steam can't be played on this device as of right now. But you're talking like, PUBG, Apex Legends, like pretty intense stuff going on there, which...
I guess we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we?
Just to kind of back up a little bit, the Steam Deck is going to be a portable, handheld console with access to your entire Steam library, and it will also include a dock to be able to connect to your TV, much like a Switch.
It will not include it sold separately.
I believe it.
That's what it says. It's what it says on the webpage. It says it will come with a dock sold separately.
See, here's the thing. I as a guy that doesn't have the ability to PC game as much as I'd like to, because I use a Mac. This is perfect for me. Because most of the games I'm going to play on PC are not going to be multiplayer shooters, right? Those are the games that are super popular that aren't going to work on there. I don't want that. I want to play my indie platformers that are only on PC, or maybe some point-and-click adventure games that are only on PC that I can't play on my Mac.
Can I play Star Wars: The Old Republic? Because I'll find the $400 for that.
You're talking about the
MMO from
MOBA?
11 years ago?
Or not MOBA, but MMO,
yeah. The MMO, yeah.
Interesting.
Where they call it, where the famous marketing quote where we're not making KOTOR 3, but this will be KOTOR 3 through 7. No one showed up.
Anyway, this does launch in December. Although some people won't get theirs until as late as Q3 of 2022, even if they pre-ordered it right now. That's how much the demand is going right now. There's 3 models: a 64 gigabyte model for $400, a 256 gigabyte model for $529. I'll have some extra goodies like a faster storage. Can you explain that to me? How is storage faster? What does that mean?
I would guess it'd be like the PS5's SSD, where it just like loads things along faster and whatnot.
Okay. I hear storage. I think like putting the actual games on the unit or your save files or something like that. I don't think about SSD, but okay.
I think it's like storing, like a cache of information kind of thing, so it makes loads faster.
And then there's a 512 gigabyte model for $649, which comes with a bunch of extra goodies, including an exclusive virtual keyboard theme.
Yeah, buddy. That no one but you will see.
Yeah. So anyway, 3 different models. Apparently at noon, their site just was overrun. Like people were like struggling to be able to make orders.
Well, I don't know if you saw like the parameters to even get into pre-order it, but our friends over at Nindy Nation have had a Steam account for 12 years and they couldn't get into pre-order because their account was too young.
I'm following people on Twitter, and some of them had accounts for 12 years, 15 years, and it still said, your account's too new.
Yeah.
How can an account be too new?
Pretty elitist pre-order window.
It is. And then like how they're going to be staggered for release. It's just a scalper's dream at this point, right?
What a Valve move.
Is it? Can you explain why?
I think so. Just like like when they announced the Steam Machine, but we're going to have other people make it. We're not actually going to make it. Or,
let's give them credit. They did make 3 different models, so they can count to 3.
Oh, scary.
Oh, I get it.
Uh-oh. Is this,
it
wait,
clicked a little bit.
Are you saying they're announcing Half-Life 3 with this as well?
Oh, man.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, dude, that's what they do. They want to sell it. Comes with a copy, or people that pre-order get a copy of Half-Life 3 on launch day.
Right. Half-Life 3 is Steam Deck exclusive.
Oh, you can't play
Portal
it on PC.
3 and Left 4 Dead 3.
Oh, man. I'd be there. Yeah, Portal 3 and Half-Life 3, Steam Deck exclusives. You would sell out in a heartbeat.
You would sell out in a heartbeat just for those. I would. Well, did you guys pre-order one?
I did not.
No, I don't even have a Steam account. I don't think.
Oh no,
not anymore.
I'm just broke.
One.
You did pre-order one?
I pre-ordered one.
How did you do it? Is your Steam account 20 years old?
I have no idea how old my Steam account is, but I didn't do it until like 2 days after, so I wasn't able to do it at launch. So I'm not getting. If I get one, it won't be until Q2 of 2022.
Which model did you pre-order?
The 256, the tier 2.
Did they make you? Is it you get paid when it ships kind of deal?
$5 to pre-order it.
That's pretty cool.
So I've got you figure out about 6 to 8 months to save up $529.
I think you can manage.
Probably could. It's just too perfect for a guy like me that doesn't PC game.
Say I haven't actually waited on the console at all, but I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this sounds really cool. The price is definitely scary, but I for a guy like me or you who I have interest in Steam games, but I don't want to mess around with a PC.
Mm-hmm.
This is the simplified version that I need to get in.
I agree, and then I can plug it into my TV.
Yes, that is the killer feature here.
Yeah,
especially I love the Switch, man. I love picking it up, putting it in there. It's just like it moves. I still get the Magic Kid goosebumps every time you lift the Switch up out of the case and just picks it right where you were.
Yeah, because don't you kind of like expect it not to work sometimes when you go drop it and they're like it's not going to work this time. That
it works so immediately every time, right. Seamlessly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's obviously I shouldn't be that mystified by what is probably simple technology, but I am.
Yeah,
every time.
It's really, really cool. So Steam Deck, how much you want to bet CB's got one pre-ordered?
Probably the 512 gigabyte.
Probably.
Alyssa, are you interested in this thing?
I am, because even though I do have a gaming PC, sometimes I want to move around, go to a different room and play it, and hook it up to the TV. The price point is pricey for me because I don't make a lot of money. But if it comes out, it does well, I'm going to be one of those people that just kind of waits it out and sees what happens with it. Maybe I'll get one down the line because it does look really cool right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get it down the line. I got to get a PS5 and a Series X first,
Right.
and then I'll think about a Steam Deck.
I do want to mention very quickly, too, the bummer news of Lemnis Gate being delayed.
Bummer, yes, of course, but as with any delay, it's for the best.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we've been evangelizing Lemnis Gate for years now.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks so cool. And what is it? It's September 4th? Is that the new date? September 28th.
We need to get those guys on, talk about that, talk about the game a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I
should talk to, I have a contact over there. I should get him on the show and come talk to us about that. Because, man, I mean, it's coming to Game Pass, so it's not going to be a hard sell to get people to play it with us.
Yeah, I guess that's right. The Game Pass will do more for its marketing than we ever could.
Right.
But I'll be damned if we weren't there minute one talking about how cool this game was.
we're like hipsters right now.
We are. We're Lemnis Gate hipsters.
I was there before it was cool.
You don't understand, man. I played E3. They didn't even have the Y-axis inverted.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Well, it was that you had to like switch it for player. When you switch it for player 1, it affected for player 2.
Right. That's how early it was. You couldn't have an individual whatever,
yeah.
But
I feel like we helped them realize that needed to be in there.
Yeah. I forgot about it until you just mentioned that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's the news. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to remind everybody about our Patreon. We do ask you guys to help support us and the work that we're doing over here with a Patreon donation, if you are so willing. We do return in kind with some bonus episodes. We've got some episodes already out there. Then all of them are available to you. Even if you're a brand new Patreon subscriber, you get access to everything in the back catalog. All of our games that aren't for us, all of our legacy episodes, all of our whatever goofy stuff that we come up with to talk about, including our Friends Trivia game, which was a lot of fun, and I hope you get to check that out. But Zack had requested this week that we talk about, it's not up yet, we haven't recorded it yet, but a couple weeks ago, we kind of dove back into Zack's childhood a little bit and helped him realize the name of an old NES game that he played as a kid. And that game is like Bill Elliott's NASCAR Challenge, which is
I'll never forget it now. But yeah, CB figured out, because you're trying to figure out what my first game was, and by description alone, CB, of course, knew immediately what it was.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to be playing that game this week and talking about Zack's nostalgia a little bit. And I'm going to be playing it for the first time. So I'm looking forward to it. I own it, but I've never played it. So
can't wait to see how little it holds up.
Probably, but it'll probably hold up better for you than it will for me. So,
but it'll still be the only racing game where you play as a pit crew, and that's enough for me.
There you go. I've got some other ideas cooking around too, so stay tuned for more. If you're interested in those bonus episodes or just helping us out in general, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. We would really appreciate the help over there. Let's go ahead now and jump into the new games we've been playing. Zach, what's on the list this week for new games coming out this week that people can pick up?
Big week, starting with Strip Action RPG, Akiva's Trip, Hellbound and Debriefed, coming to PS4, Switch, and PC July 20th.
I didn't see the subtitle, Debriefed. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game where you weaken your enemies by ripping their clothes off, because I think they're like vampires or demons or something.
Yeah.
Well, people pointed out that even though it's Akiva's Trip, you could kind of
Strip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then they highlight the S in the logo treatment, so that you can put it everywhere. So it could be both. That's very funny. No actual nudity though, or anything, so you don't have to worry. It's just
Sony won't allow that.
Yeah. Maybe on the Switch. Who knows?
I was gonna say, put it on Nintendo's console. They'll be fine.
Nintendo doesn't give a damn. But this is a remake of the original first game to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the franchise. Yes, it's a franchise. And then Cree Tales comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, PC, and Stadia on July 20th. That is a very colorful looking, very animated Japanese role-playing game. Death's Door comes to Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC July 20th. Monster Harvest comes to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC July 20th. Pokemon Go inspired The Witcher Monster Slayer comes to iOS and Android July 21st.
Of all the properties, though, that's a pretty solid one to pick.
It is.
I agree. I think, that's a cool idea.
I think that's.
Will I play
I
it?
think it's a better. It makes more sense than Harry Potter.
Yes. Significantly smaller brand, but yes.
No. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's a more popular brand. It just in the sense of what you do in The Witcher, it makes a lot more sense than what you do in Harry Potter. Anyway,
There will never be a more natural fit than Pokemon, however.
no, I agree.
Speaking of Pokemon, this one's for Nate Lucas, our producer. Pokemon Unite coming to Switch July 21st. This is Pokemon MOBA. It will be coming to Android and iOS later, but what a strange concept that is.
They'll do anything with Pokemon, man. It'll sell.
Yes. Speaking of a franchise they'll do anything with, Warhammer 40,000 Battle Sector coming to Xbox One, PS4, and PC July 22nd.
Do we just get a Warhammer game like every month?
That's what. Yes,
Pretty much, yeah.
It must be a dirt cheap license, right?
Must be.
But this one actually looks more like an RTS, like a throwback Warhammer game.
Ah.
Who knew? Indie game Last Stop, or maybe not indie, but adventure narrative Last Stop comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC July 22nd. That's being published by Annapurna, who seems to be making tons of artsy games left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Orcs Must Die 3 coming to PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC July 23rd. That was a Stadia exclusive for a year, and is yet another game where the PS5 version was delayed at the last minute, which makes like the third or fourth game to do that, and that's just very curious to me.
That is curious.
Where the Snow Settles comes to Xbox One and PC July 23rd. And then Contra returns to iOS and Android July 26th. What's intriguing you guys?
My backlog.
Yep, same here.
Me too. But I am interested. I've been saying it Chris Tales. But it's Cree Tales?
It could be either one. They don't say the title in the trailers, and I took it as a silent S, but it probably...
Kind of like Gree? That.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's where I came to it in my head.
Anyway, it looks beautiful and interesting, so I'll definitely give that one a shot. Maybe not at launch, but sometime. But that's pretty much the only one. I might one day play Akiba's Trip because I'm a weeb. Okay.
Yeah, I think those games look fun, but I've never taken the plunge. I would not play it on PlayStation. I know that.
Yeah,
because I don't want the neutered
censorship
version. It's just like unnecessary. It's weird because they only seem to be doing it for Japanese influenced games, right? Because games like God of War and The Last of Us have nudity, and it's not a problem.
Yeah, but Devil May Cry, they had like a ray of light.
Yes. Which is how I think of Djibouti, as an angelic ray of light. But I like to see
like,
it.
Oh.
Right. Whenever I see a booty. Yeah, I think Last Stop looks really cool, but it's I can't find the price anywhere, so I can't get mentally ready for it. And I've got I think I'm in the middle of 4 or 5 games right now, so I think I'm set for now.
I'm set as well. I'm curious about Contra being on a mobile device, because that's a pretty game. That's a game that requires a lot of dexterity.
Yes, but more and more games seem to be coming to to mobile platforms that require dexterity.
Mm-hmm.
Like that Punishing Ray Raven game that we got a press release for last week. Like that's just like a Bayonetta style fighter.
Right.
And it handles itself pretty well with virtual controls, although I've only played like 10 minutes of it.
Gotcha.
That's what intrigues me is that's like a Monday release. That's weird.
That is weird. When's the last time I don't remember games coming out on Monday before, but anywho, there you go.
Okay, so Scott and Zach, you've both been playing Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which I have played the first 30 minutes of it, but never played it before. Guys, how are you playing it? Are you playing it docked? Motion controls?
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about how interesting this conversation will be because Scott's only got a light.
Right.
And I am I'm refusing to play it with buttons.
That's a good call.
That's
yeah,
my...
because I played the 30 minutes in handheld mode, so...
Okay. How about that camera control? Apparently Scott hates it.
It's... I mean, having to push the, is it LR or
it's
LZ?
A left
I always
bumper.
forget. The first left bumper,
Yeah.
and then move it with the right stick. it's a little frustrating.
It's awkward.
It reminds me, PSP games used to do that. That's how PSP games would get around no camera stick.
It reminds me of playing the original Resident Evil, where in order to draw your weapon, you had to pull a trigger. You had to pull one trigger to draw your weapon, and then another trigger to fire.
See, now, to me, again, I haven't played it this way, but I would think it would be less frustrating if it was you hold the left bumper to do the sword control.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
I agree 100%. Like, let me do that, because you're never like running. You're never really needing to run in place and swing your sword. Every time you swing your sword, you're like standing still.
And then when you're locked down for combat, it can just auto assume that you're in fight mode, right? But then if you're doing environmental stuff, it would just be the left bumper to use a sword. I think that would
make so much more sense.
Just that simple swap. I think it would be so much simpler. Yeah.
Like where it defaults to the right stick being for looking, and then that's what I want, and I'm hoping. I was talking to Nate, our producer, about this, and he's of the mindset that he thinks that it will get patched at some point.
I think I'm surprised it left playtesting without that option at least.
You know what? I didn't look through the menu to see if it was an option, so maybe it does exist, and I just didn't bother to look.
I would think less people would be complaining all over the internet if that was the case, because you guys are not the only two who are upset about that.
All right. So interesting. I'm playing it completely handheld because that's the only thing I can do. Although you can pair Joy-Cons to it, because I have an extra pair of Joy-Cons.
Does the Switch Lite have a kickstand?
No, and I don't have a way to charge my Joy-Cons. Because there's no way to charge a Joy-Cons except for putting them into the Switch, which I don't have a regular Switch anymore. So unless I buy a $30 peripheral to charge them, I would have to somehow figure out how to hold up my Switch Lite and then play it that way.
Surely Zelda's worth the extra $30 to you.
I mean, I'm getting by, but
yeah.
So, how are the controls for you with the motion controls? Because this is basically a new game for both you and I.
And
right.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, Alyssa too. That's right.
Alyssa hasn't played it. This is your first time playing it at all, right?
Yeah, first time.
And then Scott, you played for a few hours.
I got to the mainland or whatever. What is he called? The surface.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it very far. Once I got. And I didn't
even get my tunic.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because it just aggravated me.
You mean
so
when Zelda's
much.
dad watches you change in your room?
Well, we all have our kinks.
I don't think that's an appropriate one, though.
No. Yeah, for me playing it on the Wii, I remember being very irritated that you have to keep tapping the lock-on button to reset the camera. I remember that driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the unskippable dialogue driving me mad that you couldn't accelerate the pace, because I read significantly fast. I'm not trying to brag, I swear.
I have the same issue, Zach.
I feel like the text crawls especially slow in Skyward Sword compared to other games. Yeah. So when you couldn't fast forward the dialogue box, it was utterly maddening.
I still feel like it's hit or miss when it works to skip it, though. Like it chooses at some point that you can skip this one or not skip this one.
It seems like if the camera is moving during the scene, then it considers itself as a cutscene. You can't skip the box.
Right.
So I assume it's because it's paced out to what's happening with, if Fee's dancing around or whatever. But yeah, I did not play. I did not even get to the surface when I originally played it. And part of it was, I don't know, because I had the Wii Motion Plus extender thing that you plugged into the bottom of a regular Wii remote. And I don't know if that made it extra finicky or not, because I did not have a Wii controller with the Motion Plus built in. But it was definitely infuriating. But I got through all of Red Steel 2, which was a Wii Motion Plus game, so probably, I don't know, maybe Skyward Sword on the Wii just didn't register as well, because the Joy-Cons I'm having very few issues with. I mean, especially with you just tap the Y button to reset the gyro.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty seamless experience.
Now, I want to see how precise it is, though, because one of the frustrations I'm having, I struggled with the first boss in the first temple, a lot, where you have to, I don't know if it's an old game, it's not spoiling it, but the first boss, you have to basically trick him into showing where your sword is and then go to the other side and swipe at him, right?
Yeah, it's Girahim.
Girahim?
Okay. We can say Girahim, right?
I didn't know how to pronounce it first off.
Oh, I assume it's Girahim. I could be wrong, but he is the absolute highlight of the game so far.
That little thing he does when he looks over Link's shoulder and wags his tongue around, like
like he's Venom.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I just think he's very cool. Like he kind of reminds me of Kuja from FF9 in a lot of ways. It's a effeminate kind of guy who knows he's better than everybody else in the room.
Right.
It's a very interesting villain type to me.
But then in the second stage of that boss fight, which by the way, very involved boss fight for the first boss that you fight in the game. I feel like
man, this I got so into it I stood up.
Really?
I was standing for the sword duel.
Wow. Man, I wish
I used to do that when I was a little kid. I used to do that when I was a little kid playing fighting games with my uncle. I'd have to stand up because I was so into it.
I felt like a kid. Like it sucked me right in. And then like he can like catch your sword and throw it away, so you kind of dashing around for that. My sword broke at one point, and I didn't have any healing items. It was very intense and it felt awesome.
Oh, pro tip: if you die, don't continue. Just end and start your save file again at the last thing, and you'll still have your fairy. Like if you have a fairy in a bottle.
Okay, good to know.
Anyway, so the second phase of that boss fight, he flings like 5 objects at you in a certain pattern that you're supposed to swipe, either up and down, left or right, or diagonal. That is maddeningly difficult to do with the joystick in terms of timing and getting it exactly, flicking it that thing the same way. Because it's not just like moving it from a standstill from the middle position to the right. You have to move it from the bottom left to the upper right, or you have to move it from the left to the right. You know what I mean? So
yes.
I assume that's a much easier with the Joy-Con.
Yeah, I mean, I just dodged them mostly.
Well, they were easy to dodge, but if you hit all 5 of them, it damages him.
Right. Because you can also just dodge and hit them. I'm just saying it was difficult to get the timing right to do the motions.
I found it very difficult to hit him when he would do his bald bull charge at you, and you could if you could time it right, you had to know which side he was attacking from and attack from the opposite side. Were you able to do that?
I feel like I mostly deflected with my shield. Parried him.
See, I didn't have a shield. I had a
yeah. I didn't towards the end. I remember just leaping out of the way.
I tried.
You should dodge more.
I tried. The timing is so weird with the button control.
Scott, have you thought about getting good?
Dude. I'm just teasing.
I
know. It's just I'm so used to other Zelda games where at least the first boss just is like a gimme. You know what I mean?
Just funny because I feel like the second boss is definitely a gimme.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I thought.
I just think that maybe this is why the game wasn't as accessible for a lot of people at the early onset, as well as now. People are kind of looking for that familiar Zelda formula.
But I do like the idea of a recurring boss. You're in a sword duel a few different times.
Right? Yeah, I like that too. Well, it sounds like I'm talking negatively. I will say, and Zach, I think you'll back me up on this because we talked about this. It feels really great to be back in a 3D Zelda game again.
Right, comforting, I believe is the word we used.
We both used the word comforting. Like, hearing it's not familiar music. It's not like you're not hearing the same Legend of Zelda theme song that we've heard, since the 80s. But the tone of it makes you feel like you're in the world of Hyrule. Even though you're not in Hyrule at the beginning, you're in,
the sky.
The sky. But just there's something about the tone of that music that makes you feel like you're playing a Zelda game. And I'm ready to do this adventure and go collect some hearts and rupees and I've missed it, man. I've missed it. It feels really, really good.
Right. Well, for the 3 of us who did not play Skyward Sword on its original release, it would be, at a minimum 15 years since Twilight Princess came out that we have played a 3D Zelda game.
Right.
Right. Because Breath of the Wild is obviously a different thing. So that's a long time.
Yeah. Breath of the Wild wasn't like a traditional dungeon seeking, puzzle solving Zelda game. So
right, and this is a great reminder of how incredible that formula just is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just is a brilliant. There's a reason like Darksiders copied it wholesale, right? Like it's just a perfect game structure.
Well, and even that first dungeon was like it just felt like a Zelda dungeon, man.
And Skyward Sword I think does an interesting thing where like it has like a little mini dungeon in the area outside the dungeon first.
Right, like it's almost you have to traverse, and there's just little almost side questy kind of things that you have to do in order to be able to open up the dungeon.
Right, and then like you get an item, right? You got the slingshot in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like a total time waster or something. It feels like a little dungeon. It's like a preview dungeon of what you're about to get into.
Right. I will say the game does take a long time to get going. And this is where
this is the accelerated version.
Right. And this is where you're going to tell me, Scott, just get good, but it took me 4 hours to get to the first dungeon.
I think it took me 3.
I mean, I
did 3.5 actually. Yeah, because it takes you like 90 minutes to get off the home village.
Right.
I'm still there. So.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, 30 minutes in.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been thinking about this because Twilight Princess also has a pretty slow intro.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like I cared about the people in my town more.
Right. They try to make you care about the people in the town, like the bully that like steals your bird or whatever.
Bruce.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find my bird.
Yeah.
I care about Zelda, and I like that she's got an obvious thing for Link.
Yeah, she sure does. That little thing when you do the ceremony was kind of funny.
I was gonna say, Alyssa, I don't know if you probably don't even have your loft wing yet, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so I don't want to.
They just postponed the wing ceremony because I gotta find my loft wing.
Gotcha.
There is some palpable sexual tension in one scene between Zelda and Link.
Yeah, which has not been in other games, even when.
No, it's I would say it's pretty blatant in Breath of the Wild.
Oh well, yeah.
You know, and I haven't played it, but I hear Age of Calamity is very much Link and Zelda are into one another.
I haven't played it enough to see that, but
it is different in that way. This like focus on a romance, almost. Yeah, like I got a little further in the story, and there's some very interesting stuff happening with Zelda. Or, recurring character Impa showed up.
Oh,
it's
really?
Very compelling.
Cool.
I don't feel like that's a spoiler because she's in every Zelda,
right?
But yeah,
I do find it kind of funny because I don't remember this the first time I played this game, which I didn't get very far anyway. But when you do what do they call it, like douse that you do dowsing with your sword. I don't know if you've seen The Princess Bride, but every time I go in that mode, I just go, guide my sword. Father, guide my sword. It's like what goes in my head every time I do one of this.
I view it as a completely useless feature because this is significantly more linear than Ocarina of Majora or Twilight Princess.
Right, because it's all it's all self-contained in that one area, right?
Right, there's no need for the dowsing thing at all. It's just kind of funny.
Actually, I feel like it frustrated me a little bit more, like in that stupid mission at the beginning where you got to find like the Kiwi characters or whatever that are like hiding.
Oh yeah,
it confused me even more.
Don't worry, you'll be doing a very similar thing for the next dungeon too.
In the fire area.
Oh no!
You have to find like 5 pieces of a key. Ugh. At least it has fun puzzles. It's just I don't know. I don't feel like Zeldas are usually so obviously repetitive.
Right.
Where it's like, ugh, I had to. Fee's like, hey, I got a dowsing for this key, and I was like, again though.
Yeah.
We just did this.
Right.
A little frustrating.
I do like the beetle, the little beetle upgrade that you get.
That thing is frustrating in motion control. Very finicky.
You can't control it with your joystick?
Well, I wish they did have like a mix and match option for the controls, but it's either all motion or all button.
Okay.
But the beetle is the only annoying thing so far.
I wish they would let you mix and match the flight controls because
the Loftwing sucks.
You can't do inverted.
Oh, really?
You can do inverted look, like when you're looking with your camera, but you can't control him inverted, which is so frustrating.
Yeah, the overworld of the sky where you're flying this bird around, it's obviously going for a Wind Waker style of thing, but it is nowhere near as fun or interesting as Wind Waker.
Oh, no. I haven't really been compelled to go look at more than 1 or 2 of those islands.
Well, then even to get on and off of them, right, you have to like skydive onto them and then, skydive back off. It's just kind of annoying compared to getting off your boat and like, I don't know, like the Red Lion guy was cool.
Right.
Or, it's just, I don't know. It was just,
this game definitely feels like a game that they were really leaning into the motion controls of the Wii back in the day. And I think a lot of Zelda fans like me just really want a traditional 3D Zelda game. I mean, I will say that with Twilight Princess, I did play that on the Wii with the motion controls, because all it really meant was you were swinging your Wii remote with to swipe your blade. It was just a flick of the wrist.
Right, but then it would be like intelligently used, where you could just use it to, fine tune your aim with the bow and stuff, right? Because I played on GameCube and Wii, and I actually preferred the Wii version.
Me too. For that reason,
even with the loss of a camera control.
Yeah, I mean that's what made Metroid Prime 3 awesome. Was playing a Metroid game with a Wii remote. It was like a game changer.
I've heard of. Still never played them.
It was cool.
I'm sorry, I was trying to not laugh. It's inappropriate. When you were talking about the Wii remote, Scott, you said swinging
Swinging my Wii.
It doesn't sound right before you say the remote part.
Swinging your Wii around.
Swing the Wii.
I'm sorry, guys. I was over here trying not to laugh.
I wasn't expecting.
I wasn't either.
These Wii jokes to come back around.
I don't know what Nintendo was thinking with the name Wii, honestly.
Especially when the Revolution is such a cool name, and also sells the concept of the system.
Right. Yeah.
Ugh, annoying. But anyway, Skyward Sword, I think it looks beautiful. The little painterly style they got going on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't it was fine on the Wii, but this is a case where the HD really does make a huge difference.
Yeah, you can tell that it's an up-res game, but it doesn't look bad. It looks no.
It makes me kind of wish they would do another game in this kind of painted style that's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, and like you said, man, it's just comforting. It's not perfect. There are things that definitely frustrate me, especially the almost anything to do with the sky.
Yeah. They even have little rings that you can fly through to boost.
Why?
Why?
It's weird, and the Wii Motion, you have to keep flapping your arms like a bird's arm, and that's just annoying.
Oh, I can just tap a button, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Even that seems like unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people complain that the areas are so segmented, but to me that's no different than it being connected to a hub world anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm cool with that. It's just there's just nothing like Zelda, man.
I agree. Obviously.
It's just such a traditional hero fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Like comforting is the word for it.
Yeah, it's so crazy that we were both thinking of the same word to describe it. It just felt it felt at home to be back.
I was gonna say it feels like coming home.
Yeah. It's great.
It makes you a little, I'm like, maybe we can do like one Breath of the Wild, one 3D, go back and forth.
Or have two different teams that just do them every other.
Yeah, because they used to do the handhelds games interspersed with the console releases, so use that team structure to make two different kinds of Zelda.
I agree. It's not like they're not going to sell.
Yeah.
They're going to sell.
Right. If Age of Calamity can sell, anything can sell.
Exactly. Anyway, let's go on. And Alyssa, I want to talk to you about a game you've been playing on, I think you've been playing on PS5, called Where the Heart Leads. Your written review is up on the site. Seems like you really like this one a lot. Can you tell us exactly what this game is?
I did love this a lot, and I did play it on PS5, but it is the PS4 version. Mm-hmm. There's not much. It doesn't upgrade or anything on the PS5.
Gotcha.
Just to let you guys know. But Where the Heart Leads is a very narratively driven game, and I am a sucker for a good narrative, and it utilizes the butterfly effect, which I love when video games do this. So that means every choice you make has some sort of consequence, whether minor or major. And the story is about this man, Whit Anderson. He's a father and a husband. And one day on their family farm, a sinkhole appears in the yard. Their golden retriever, Casey, falls down the hole. He jerry-rigs his bathtub up on a pulley. And he has his wife lower him down to the hole. He saves the dog, but then he falls all the way down to the hole, at the bottom of the hole. So then you see Whit go through his adolescence to his older years, elderly age, and you just make decisions for him. And the thing is, the decisions you make for him also affect his family, his neighbors, his friends. It's just interesting to see how things unfold and if you're making what you think are the right decisions and how they're going to affect everyone else.
So you talk about decisions that affect everything else. That makes me think of like the Walking Dead games or the Telltale games.
It is very similar to those, I would say.
Okay.
In the decision we're making decision-making regard. I don't know why I couldn't say that.
Okay. Like I said at the top, you gave this a really good score and recommendation on the site. Why should people play it?
I think it's going to appeal more to people that really love a good story, but it's so beautifully written, and I just fell in love with this family, the small town of Carthage where the game takes place. I just thought it was so quirky and wonderful, and I just became absorbed in it, and I liked guiding Whit's life and the lives of his family and friends without really knowing what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple endings. I've only played through once, but I do honestly want to play again because I would like to see what happens with making different choices.
Okay. That's always fun when games give you a reason to play it again.
Oh yeah, and there are so many different choices you can make in this game that I imagine I don't know how many endings, but I've heard there's several, so it's got high replayability too, and the art style, I have to say, is gorgeous.
Yeah, the look of it really strikes me.
It's just a pleasure to look at.
Nice. So that is Where the Heart Leads. It's exclusive to PlayStation, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. Interesting. Sounds very cool. I have one more game to talk about. I sat down with Sean from our writing team who played Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, and I wanted to get you a chance to hear his review of that game right now. I'm here with one of our contributing writers, Mr. Sean Coates. Sean, how's it going, man?
As always, it's a pleasure to be here, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. You are a fellow retro guy, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days, I'm going to convince you to play Assalam, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. You were here to talk to us about a game that you just decided to review on your own called Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, which, if I'm understanding correctly, because I've never played the original, is a remake or remaster of the original Master System game. Is that correct?
It's a full remake and then some. Apparently, there's a lot of. Because I never played the original either, so I'm not. I'm not sure what content is new and what content is original.
Sure.
But yeah, it adds. It's a remake plus some more, I guess you can say.
Okay. Well, since you were kind of in the same boat as me, I'm really curious about this series because I've never played one. I've seen the box art and I've seen the trailers for this. It looks bright, colorful, cute. What does it entail in terms of gameplay?
It's just your another mid-'80s platformer in the same vein as Mario and all other things at the time. Although it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really play as well as Mario, if that makes sense. Just because, like you said, this is you never played an Alex Kidd game, and this is my first time as well. Mm-hmm. I have almost 30 years of just Mario experience under my belt, so trying to unlearn that to play another platformer. I thought I knew platformers, but apparently I don't, because all I know is Mario. And this plays
so what's different about it from Mario?
My first instinct when I see an enemy is to jump on it, and you don't do that here. You're supposed to punch it.
So you can't.
No, you're supposed to punch enemies instead. So of course I learned that. 2 seconds into my first playthrough, I died immediately because I jumped on it.
Ah, okay. So you're actually melee attacking instead of jumping on them, like jumping on turtles or whatever.
Right. Punching enemies and punching blocks is how you get around. Is how you traverse the world.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the mechanics too, because in your review you mentioned it took you a while to get used to the jumping. You said it feels a little bit floaty or slippery, I think were the words you used in your written review.
Yeah, and also it's very easy to overshoot and undershoot jumps. Like you'll come across platforms as large as maybe one block, and then behind that one block is a spike pit, and nine times out of 10 you'll hit that spike pit before you hit the platform you're trying to jump on.
So does it feel like you're on ice, or does it feel like?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, it does. If you do make the block, you'll easily slip off of it too.
Okay. The way you're describing it makes it sound like controlling Luigi in Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. And also the scrolling is nice and smooth, but when you go up and down vertically, it kind of pause shifts to the next stage, just like Mario 2 does. It's not a smooth. It's not a smooth descension. So right. Yeah, I definitely got some Mario 2 vibes out of this.
Okay. So, are there boss battles? Again, I know nothing about this thing. Are there bosses you got to fight?
There are 3 main henchmen to the main villain. Jenkin the Great is the villain's name, and you fight these bosses with rock paper scissors games.
Oh, what?
Yeah, rock paper scissors is how you beat these villains.
So
I'm not kidding.
You know what? Now that you're saying that, I think I remember seeing a trailer where like one of the villain is like a giant hand, one is a giant rock,
and one is a giant open face palm. Yes.
Okay.
And then you beat each one of those in a game of rock paper scissors. Whereas the game calls it Janken Po. Okay.
All right. So. Did you enjoy this one? You gave it a pretty high score on your review. I think you 8.5.
Yeah. I gave it I settled on a 7.
7. I'm sorry.
No worries. It's a great package, and it looks and sounds great, and it just oozes the nostalgia. Even though I don't have actual nostalgia for it personally,
right?
I guess the most nostalgia I have is the fact that I didn't know the Master System existed until about 12 years ago.
Wow, that's crazy considering you're a retro guy.
That's about 12 years ago is when I started becoming a retro guy. Just all my life, I always thought the Genesis was Sega's first console. It's in the name.
Yeah, right. That's true. So, do you recommend everybody check this one out, or do you think it's just going to be for nostalgia lovers?
I think it's going to be more for the nostalgia lovers and anybody that has any fond memories of Master System era games.
Okay, but as a person who was new to it, you still dug it, or do you think people are going to shy away from it?
I dug it, but I don't think I'll revisit it anytime soon. Honestly, I'll just stick to Mario.
All right,
30 more years of Mario.
If we get any more, if we get anything else after Odyssey at this point,
I still haven't played Odyssey.
Oh, really?
Really?
It's pretty good. You should play it.
But. So that's what I hear.
Well, Sean, thanks so much for stopping by to talk to us about Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX. I appreciate you taking the time. Also, want to remind everybody that his written review for the game is up on our site right now, so be sure to read that. We really do appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by, man. It's good chatting with you as always.
Always happy to be here.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Sean. Really appreciate it. Always good to talk with you. Want to remind everybody of our social media outlets. We've got Facebook, facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. New members over there include David Huff, Eric Thomas, and Chantel Jones is back. Welcome back. And Discord. We've got a Discord as well. If you'd like to join the community over there, maybe meet up with us for some games in the future, there's a link for that in the show notes. Also, if you get an opportunity, please drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. It helps us get the word out, and we'd love to hear from you and see what you think of the show. And lastly, our website, thegamingoutsider.com, where you can find all of our episodes, including this one, as well as all of our written reviews on the site. You'll find my written review of Astalon, Tears of the Earth. Last time you'll hear me talk about the game, I promise, unless I beat the other 2 modes.
That's not even close to true, but that's okay.
Sean's written review of Alex Kidd in Miracle World is up there, as well as Jacob's review of Within the Blades. So be sure to check out the site, as well as all of our other reviews. We do pour our heart and souls into those, so we really do appreciate you reading them. With that, let's jump into our From the Outside In topic. I wanted to talk about easy modes this week, as it seems to be a strange point of contention with some people on Twitter. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, Double Fine posted a tweet this week saying that they have an invincibility option for Psychonauts 2, which releases next month. Not only that, but they had the audacity to state that if you use this option when playing, they still consider this, quote, beating the game. Now, this caused quite a stir from the video game community. Even developers and influencers got into the debate, claiming that a subset of people were gatekeeping their hobby. It's been an interesting week for sure, and I wanted to discuss it. But before we get too much in the weeds on the controversial side of the topic, I thought I'd ask you guys again, because we have had this topic in the past about difficulty settings, but what setting do you guys normally play when beating a game?
Well, I guess I'm a bit of a fickle fellow here, in that I switch it up. I do predominantly play on normal because it feels like the intended experience, but sometimes the game will be like, this is what what it was meant to be played on, like Halo with its heroic, right? Hard. It recommends hard mode for how they designed the game, or Gears of War did the same thing with was it not insane with the hardcore, right? Where
I thought it was legendary on Halo.
Legendary is the hardest difficulty. That's like very hard, right? But they had heroic, which was hard mode, and then they had normal as well.
Gotcha.
But when you highlight heroic, it says the way the game is meant to be played.
Oh, okay.
And Gears of War did the same thing with hardcore because they introduced, like a casual option in Gears of War 2. I remember, but then on hardcore, so like recommended here is the difficulty. So that's what I play games on if they tell me that. I most prefer when a game doesn't ask me a difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather you design the game the way you want to, and then let me, assess the challenge. I mean, I don't normally play games on easy ever. I do want games to generally be a challenge for me, something to overcome. Something we'll get into later. But of course, I don't care what difficulty you play it on. But I think difficulty can change the way you interact with the mechanics for sure.
Mm-hmm. Going back to what you said a second ago, you said you like it better when a game doesn't give you the option. Part of me hopes that someday there will be like an intro level to a game that assesses how you play and just adjusts to you on the fly.
The Max Payne 1 and 2 did this throughout the whole game. Where it would, like, if you were dying on a specific combat encounter, it will make that combat encounter easier. And then as you get better over the course of the level, it'll start making the combat encounters more difficult. And it kind of like fluctuates depending on how you're doing in the game at any given moment.
That's fascinating. I didn't know. I've not
brilliant.
I only played Max Payne 3.
Absolutely brilliant. And I don't know how, like, everyone took the slow motion from that game, but I'm like, you guys someone needs to seal the difficulty.
Yeah.
I do.
That's so smart.
I agree. I'm with you. I don't usually play on easy mode. I try my best to play on normal unless the game is just completely kicking my butt. I will say that in some of my achievement hunting days, like Wolfenstein allowed you to get all the achievements, all the difficulty achievements in the game by playing it through easy and just by fighting the last boss on hard. So I will admit that I did that.
No shame. I don't care. What do I care?
I mean, hey, that's what they gave the achievement for. So, Alyssa, what about you? What mode do you usually play on?
I always start playing on normal, but then again, if the game starts kicking my butt and I start getting frustrated, I knock it down to easy.
Right.
But I really don't go above normal because I like to experience the game, well, on the first playthrough. I just want to experience the game and its story, and then second playthrough, I might knock up the difficulty a little bit, so...
Gotcha.
To me, I'm sorry.
You're good.
And I don't know if we'll get into it later, but like for some games, like The Last of Us is a good example where I think hard almost like puts you in the setting more.
Mm-hmm. Was there a difficulty setting on Last of Us 2?
Yeah, there was.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, it's just I feel like with getting less ammo and less resources and stuff, it engages you more. And it's funny that you say that, Scott, because I remember in our spoiler cast we brought up the differences in our difficuldos quite a bit.
Oh, that's right, because you played it on hard. It's been a while since I played
it.
This game's been out for a year, man.
God, for 1 whole year.
We fire through these games, man.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It was on my mind. The point.
No, that's cool. I'm with you on the Max Payne thing. I want other games to adopt that. I think that I want to say that some sports games do that. I think that MLB The Show recent memory did that, where like if you were just like running up the score on a team, it'll make them better, or if they're destroying you, it's kind of like a rubber banding feature almost built into it.
And just to clarify, so we don't get any corrections or anything, Max Payne does have difficulty modes, but you can lock it to the hardest setting of that adjustable difficulty is one option. Or there's another one, it's like New York Minute, where you have like a time limit on every level, which you would hate, Scott.
Yes.
But they do have difficulty modes, but the normal mode is an adaptable difficulty, which is rad.
Now, do they notify you, or does the game just continue on? I love that.
It's quietly in the background. People didn't realize it was there until the developer started doing interviews talking about it.
It seems like that would have been a cool thing to bring up. Or did they not want people to know? They just wanted people to think they were successful.
I think the first game, like, because they were just young upstarts, right? Like, they were probably just did it because they thought it was clever, and then like didn't even think about it being a big deal, you know?
Right. Well, there's something about when you're notified about it that it almost feels demeaning to you. Like, oh,
Yeah.
would you like to lower this difficulty because you obviously suck? You know what I mean? Like,
I like how Resident Evil will do that with the new games. They're like, after you died so many times, like, would you like to switch to easy mode?
yeah.
There was some game, and it might have been Resident Evil 4, or for some reason Uncharted 2, where they announced many years later that it was actually adapting the difficulty around you. I want to say it was actually Resident Evil 4.
I don't remember. Dude, it's been so long.
No, it is. No, it is Resident Evil 4. Yeah, because there are parts I'm sorry, I've seen a video. This is all coming back to me, where you die on like the Napoleon Bonaparte character's castle or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And like when you first go in there, there'll be 7 enemies, but then when you die and respawn, there'll be 5. And if you die again, it'll lower it down to 3. Or like there'll be archers in some rooms, but if you had just died recently, the archers won't be there. It'll just be the people on the ground. So the game was also malleable. I think that's so brilliant. I think more games should definitely look into doing that. I think that's a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm. But I also like, and I don't know how this would work, I would like that difficulty to not just be limited to just number of enemies in the room. You know what I mean? Like a different AI routine or something like that. That, I mean, I know I'm asking a lot. Like, I doesn't know anything about programming at all, but it's just a wish list for me at this point. Well, let me ask you guys a bit of a loaded question now. We all 3 review games for our site. We have somewhat of a strict rule about beating the game before we write a review for it. Would you consider beating it on easy to be enough to give a good sense of the game to write about it? What do you think, Alyssa?
Well, to be honest, most of the games I review on this site particularly do not have difficulty settings, and I've never had this issue. But if I were to play a game that had the difficulty settings, I would start it on normal, and if I had to knock it down to easy, I would mention that in my review. That is a little too hard for me on normal. Might not be for everyone, but just a little bit harder than an average game on normal settings.
Right.
I'd just be sure to disclose the fact that I did knock the difficulty down.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, but I feel like I would do the same thing. If I did drop it to easy, I would definitely admit it in the review. Say, look, I tried and it was a little too difficult for me, but I wanted to power through, so I did knock it down. That's a good point. Zach, what do you think?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that you have to mention these things, and because it colors how people read your review for sure. There is I won't name names, but a major publication reviewed Nier Replicant, and it was like unbelievable to read because the reviewer mentioned they had turned on auto battle, but then also paragraphs later mentioned that the combat was unengaging. and I don't ever want to be that person.
Right.
I do feel like a point of my own professional pride that I would want to play the game through on normal. But I would never disparage another critic who drops it to easy, especially if it's mentioned, because I do think there are. It's not super often, but there are cases like Fallen Order where I think it becomes almost a different game on hard, just with the way like it has a higher focus on parrying and the enemies do so much more damage that it leans much harder into the Souls-like aspect, and I think that's a far more engaging combat experience. But so I think it's just worth mentioning if you lower it. You know, honestly, now that we're talking about it, I probably should have mentioned in my Fallen Order review that I played it on hard. Even, you know?
So even if you do bump it up, it should be noted in the review.
Right, or I guess it would have been fascinating, because I started Doom Eternal, I played half of it on hard, and then lowered it to normal. You know, that would have been worth mentioning, probably. I think I did, actually. I might have mentioned that one. Just because that game sucks on hard. The game wasn't great on normal either, but it I agree entirely with Alyssa.
Well, I hate to be the guy
that's why she's verified.
That's why she's well, I hate to be the guy that just agrees with everything you guys say, but I feel the same way. Where I take issue with some critics is that just like by default just drop it to easy before doing anything, and I don't know. Just like starting out that way, just to get through it quickly.
And this is probably a soapbox again that may disqualify me from any future career. But to me, I don't feel like you're not giving the game mechanics a fair shake if you start on easy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just playing at home, right, and you don't care about that, that's fine. I don't disparage you. If you want to play Psychonauts 2 on invincibility mode, that's fine. You paid for the game, play it however you want. But I think a critic is writing to a specific audience, right? Like, you're not writing to the more casual gamer. Like, the people who are reading a game review probably care about game mechanics and storytelling and how those things interweave.
Right.
So it almost seems unfair to start a game on easy without giving it its fair shake.
And don't get me wrong, I understand why they do it. Because sometimes as a site that has been lucky enough to get some review copies ahead of release, there's like almost not a crunch. That's a naughty word to say nowadays. But there's like you feel rushed to get that game done so you can get a review out in time so that it's relevant, right? So you want to get through it quickly, but you don't want to just drop it to easy either just to get through it. You just I don't know. It seems like the easy way out sometimes, but I guess if it's disclosed and you say, "Look, I tried this and I couldn't do it, and so I dropped it to easy," I'm okay with it.
Right. The problem is with how often it's not disclosed.
Right. I think I can't remember the specific publication. I wouldn't say it if I did, or the actual writer, but it was like somebody was called out for clearly not finishing the game, because they just...
Right. Well, and this is... it's just funny when they do that nowadays, because you can check anybody's trophies or achievements.
Right.
So it's
that's true.
It's not hard to figure out if you've actually done your due diligence.
Mm-hmm. True story.
And if you have them turned off... if you have them set to private, that's all the more suspicious when you're a public writer.
It's a good point. Very good point. Last time mine were set to private was when I was in a competition for achievement points with my buddy, and we didn't want each other to know which games.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Had. We were hardcore about our achievement hunting.
No, that sounds fun.
Now CB is like blowing me out of the water, and I think Bill Gardner now actually has CB beat. I don't know if you've seen that. Like by several thousand, or multiple thousand. Anyway. So now let's get into it. What are your feelings on easy modes in games? Are these people who are gatekeeping being ridiculous, or do they have a case? And before I throw it off to you guys once again, I gotta say I was almost bummed by how cool our audience was.
Yeah, I was hoping for some more contention.
Yeah.
I was hoping for at least one person to be like, screw those people that play it on easy. Everybody was like,
good.
Everybody was like, just play how you want to.
I guess our community is a bunch of well-reasoned, level-headed adults who understand that.
Right.
Well, if you play a game on easy, it doesn't affect how I'm playing it, so what the hell do I care?
Which means I'm going to have to play devil's advocate a little bit, but we'll get to me. Let's start with...
I think I got... Anyway.
Okay, let's start with Alyssa, though, first. Alyssa, what do you think?
I just think that whatever difficulty you want to play it on that difficulty. If you need to bump it up, bump it down, that's cool. As long as you're not, reviewing it for a publication, if you're just playing it at home. The way the difficulty you set it is the way you enjoy it. Play it that way. If you want, if you get Psychonauts 2 and you want to play it invincibility because you don't want to die, and, do that. And there are some reasons why people need that mode, specifically due to disability or something of that nature. That's another reason why that's there. So it's not just there for just casual gamers or whatever. There is a legitimate reason for including that mode. But it doesn't affect anyone else, though. I mean, the next person that plays it might want to play it on the hardest difficulty possible.
That's the thing that I struggle with the most, I think, with this whole conversation is, how does it affect you if somebody plays it on easy mode? How does that make your gaming experience any different whatsoever?
It doesn't.
It feels like the only argument you could make is it's diminishing the achievement of beating the game, but it didn't diminish your achievement of how you beat the game. So
right.
Yeah,
I've been wrestling with that this week in preparation for this conversation.
If you don't mind me jumping the gun, I think I have a perfect community quote here.
Okay, go ahead.
From Grant Henry, one of the coolest people on the planet, by the way. One of the most effortlessly cool people on the planet, I would say.
That's a great way to say it.
Yes. He says, having an easy mode affects no one negatively. Instead, you should devote this segment to deconstructing the mindset of someone that bemoans an easy mode. There is nothing wrong with an easy mode. Therefore, what is wrong with the people who think there is? I think that completely backs up what we're saying right now.
Yeah. Good point.
What the hell does it matter to you?
It shouldn't.
But
it does to people.
It shouldn't, but it does. Like a shockingly high number of people. I mean, Twitter is full of vitriol. You complain about Facebook being full of vitriol, man. Twitter's a pretty gross place once in a while.
I have my Twitter pretty filtered to mostly positive interactions.
Do you?
Unless it's someone talking about Spider-Man, because those people don't shut the hell up.
Right. Do you have like certain words like blocked, like you don't see tweets if they have this phrase in it?
Sincerely considering blocking the word Spider-Man at this point.
Oh, really? It's that bad?
Dude, all they do is complain about which version was better, and then like, this is what Peter Parker was really like in the comics. But the honest answer is he's been adapted so many times, had so many writers, been so popular for so long, that any personality for Peter Parker is valid at this point. Him and Bruce Wayne have no identifiable personality anymore.
Almost like a multiverse?
They've just both been so overwritten.
Yeah.
There's just no... It's hard to discern what the character is anymore.
Right.
But anyway, that's a different conversation. And if I hear if I hear one person on Twitter talking about when's the No Way Home trailer coming, I'm going to shoot them.
Even I've seen that, man. Like
it's every week they're like it's going to happen on Wednesday and it doesn't. So why are you getting why repeat the cycle where you get excited then deflated and you blame Sony and Marvel who had nothing to do with your expectations?
Because that one person that called it on that date that picked that number in the pool.
Right. Eventually you're going to be right.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to be right one day.
Yeah. Anyway, Alyssa, did you have some comments from the community you wanted to share as well?
I did. I have one from Alicia Deadly D. If I did not say that right, I am so sorry. But they say, I'm neurodivergent, have multiple chronic illnesses, bad hand-eye coordination, and limited time. Easy modes are really all I can enjoyably play. If they're too hard, I play a bit, and then I don't pick it up again. I think it's great they give options. Which, that is a very legitimate reason. I mean, all those issues, all affect how you enjoy the game.
Yeah, the thing that gets me about that comment is, why would you not want more people to enjoy the same thing you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand there's a certain subset of people that are like, this is my thing. This is, it was, I don't know, the hipster mentality again, right? Like, we're all part of that. Like, we liked games when it wasn't cool to like games, right? At least I did. I know you guys are younger than me. When I was a kid, you weren't cool if you liked video games. It
wasn't cool for us either.
No, okay.
No, wasn't cool.
But I will say, I always hid my comic book fandom, but I was never quiet about video games for some reason.
That's interesting.
I think I was always fighting that they told better stories than movies. I think that's where I fought.
Video games or comic books?
Video games tell better stories. I think video games are the best storytelling format, period.
I heard you on Smirk talking about that very conversation.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great podcast.
You got...
R.I.P.
It is a great podcast. You can still listen to it.
They get Barrett. How did they react?
What's that?
So what was the reaction? I can't remember.
They disagree with you.
They're wrong.
Vehemently disagree with you.
They're dead wrong. Video games.
It was just funny because you were so matter of fact about it. It was great. But
to me, it is. Like, to me, it's a unquantifiable fact. Video games are the most powerful storytelling medium. There's no room for discussion. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you.
I would hope not. It'd be a weird podcast for you to host otherwise.
But I'm also not knocking films. You know what I mean?
I'm not.
That's
fine.
No. But that's how. If it were turned around and somebody said that about films, I know that me personally would probably take it as an attack on games, and that's not what I'm doing on movies. Is my point.
Right.
Anyway, back to Alicia's point here. You know, we talk about making games adaptable for people with disabilities or chronic illnesses, with the adaptive controller from Microsoft, which, by the way, is that still a thing? I feel like they stopped making them. I don't.
No, I think it's just. I mean, they did it right. Like they don't have to keep talking about it.
That's true, I guess. But
I mean, it's not like it wasn't it was never really a marketing tool.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's not what it was for. But the point is we're all about like making games accessible to everybody. And easy mode is a way to make games accessible to people. If I come across a game that I really liked, but is somewhat difficult, I would still want someone else to experience that same joy I had, even if it wasn't as difficult to achieve that joy. You know what I mean? I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy I feel the satisfaction or reward of experiencing that story by trial and tribulation of playing through the game mechanics. Some people don't, and I get that. But I'm not going to suggest that they should not have that same joy just because they didn't earn it the same way I did. Am I making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Sure, absolutely.
I feel like I'm getting soapboxy, but I'm really trying hard not to. Alyssa, you got another one?
I do, and it's from our very own Christy Vasquez Flores. She says, I rely on easy mode. There are so many games that I wouldn't have gotten to experience if they didn't have an option to set the level of difficulty. I've gotten to the point where I can play on regular now, but I still change it back to easy, mostly for sanity's sake, when I find myself stuck for too many hours or days in a part of a game.
Yeah, I know that about Christy. She she just defaults to easy. She's very much a story-driven person.
Sounds smart to me.
Yeah.
Or puzzle. She likes to think with her brain more than with her thumbs. If that makes sense. So, good on you, Zach. You got anything more to add?
Oh yeah, of course. I'll quickly. Samuel Smith said, "No one ever said you have to play any game on easy or assisted story mode, etc. Play however you enjoy and let other people play the game how you want to play. Easy." I think we just about covered that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I want to read the second half of Kevin Honigford's comment because he posted quite a lengthy one. But the first half was echoing a lot of our sentiments of, what does it matter? You get busy as you get older, so easy mode's more appealing, etc. But he said, struggling through a difficult game or a difficult part of a game has given me some of my most rewarding experiences. To this day, I still remember everything surrounding the day I finally beat Shadow of the Beast on my Genesis when I was a kid. It wasn't until years later that I found out that this game wasn't intended to be as hard as it was, but a mistake in conversion from its PAL encoding to the NTSC-U caused the game to run 15% faster on American consoles, which is a bizarre glitch.
Yeah.
My chest puffed out even more for about a day after reading that. This is just one example, and the more I think about it, the more memories come to the forefront that probably wouldn't be so significant if it weren't for having gotten through a difficult game or part of. Damn it, I think I just talked myself into the Souls-like genre. I'm leaving before this gets out of hand.
I really want Kevin to play Dark Souls now. We just got to make that happen.
But this brings to my ultimate point on the easy mode, which is I think the developers should just make the game however the hell they want. Very often I feel like the discussion around easy mode is like, well, should Dark Souls have an easy mode? And I think the answer is no, because the developers don't want it to be. And honestly, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, but especially Dark Souls story is actually reliant upon the fact that it's so difficult.
Right.
Like that struggle is part of the core narrative they're trying to tell. And Returnal, from my understanding, is the same way, which is why they haven't patched it to be any easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's perfectly acceptable. And I understand, there might be some people who want to play it and just can't get over the hump. But I mean, there are a lot of video games out there. If you just have to miss Dark Souls, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. It's just there are so many games to play that if this one game wants to center itself around being hard, I don't think that should be a problem. Accessibility, of course, right? Make sure that you can remap your button controls, make sure you can use your adaptive controllers. I think, of course, all of that. And I think some people play Dark Souls with Rock Band guitars. You can play it however you want. It's just
still can't wrap my head around how that works.
There are some games where they want it to be difficult, and I think that should be okay. And
I agree.
It's the same mindset of why it should be okay. There's an invincibility mode of Psychonauts too, because they want there to be.
Yeah, you bring up a really interesting point that I didn't consider until right now, that just the audacity of some of these people telling a developer how to make their game boggles my mind. You're telling somebody who has spent countless hours, years on their art, and you're telling them that they should have made it a different way. Just like that, so that somebody else could experience it a different way. Whether you're asking for, you're demanding an easy mode or a hard mode or neither of each, there's just something that is just so America about that.
It's very, very entitlement type of thing.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, you could bang your head against Dark Souls and make it really easy if you just want to grind for experience points. You know, that's doable.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely not the way the game was intended to be played.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually had considered that when this conversation came up. I was like, should there be an easy mode in Dark Souls? And as a guy who is terrible at those games and tried and gave up, I don't think there should be either. But for the same reasons that you do, because the developer doesn't want it. And right. I don't know the story reasons that you're talking about, but I trust you and know your knowledge of games to understand how that has to be. So
yeah, I would say the first Dark Souls especially is built around that concept of the difficulty and the struggle and the futility of it, etc. And that
you're making you want to really play it.
It's pretty great.
Me too.
But it's super. It is quite difficult. I will say you can pass the first boss though. It's pretty easy. Once you get over the hump of like figuring that out, it gets much easier.
Just like an Aslan. Oh, sorry, did it again.
Oh well, you gotta. Yeah, of course. Just like Aslan. You know what? Perfect example.
It is a good example.
No,
and then also no easy mode in that game.
Uh-oh.
But you can also grind your way and make it super easy if you wanted to. So. Boy, the Dark Souls comparisons between those two games seem very significant.
Yeah, I think they are.
By the way, you need to finish that game before the end of the year.
I had a feeling.
I really want you to finish that game before the end of the year.
Well, it's not my fault I decided to pick up a JRPG from 1998, Scott, okay?
It is. It is. I had a comment from Jordan Derringer who said, normally I have to play games on the harder difficulties for trophies, but honestly, if it wasn't for that, I would probably never stray from normal. I like to experience the story for everything that it has to offer, and sometimes you just can't do that when you are constantly getting your face kicked in and being forced to restart from your last save, because let's be honest, most games that have difficulty options disable autosave on the higher difficulties. I put this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I feel his pain with the trophies, although for me it was achievements.
I hate when they don't stack. That's unforgivable.
Oh, like when you beat it on hard, and then you should get the achievements for normal and easy and everything below as well.
The Uncharted games did that every single difficulty level, or at least the one you started at, you'd get the ones below it, but then they're like, you gotta play hard, and then the one that's above it to get all the trophies. Trophies.
Yeah, but there are some games where you beat it on hard and then it doesn't unlock normal and easy, and those games they should be burned at the stake. It's unforgivable.
I agree. Like, why? Yeah.
Why would you do that?
I do not know. Also, what did he say here about starting from your last save? There's something to be said about, we talked about games being a story device, right? And if you're constantly getting your face kicked in, like he said, it kind of takes you out of the story sometimes. And at the end of the day, games are supposed to be enjoyable. If the challenge is not enjoyable for you, then play it on easy.
I was going to say, yeah, it's as enjoyable as you want it, right? If it's more enjoyable to be easy, that's one thing. You know, for me, it tends to be more enjoyable if I overcome a challenge. Mm-hmm. And that's both of those are equally valid.
Right. And I'm so torn with some of the comments that some people say, well, if people just wanted to experience the story, then they could just watch it on YouTube. Well, you're taking the interactive aspect of it away.
It's not the same.
And it's not your experience anymore. It's you being a fourth person experience. And that's not the correct.
Well, then you're just watching something crummy like a movie, right?
I was trying to avoid saying that. I was trying so hard.
That was just for my old co-hosts, Aaron and Amanda from Smark.
Another comment from Chris Robbins who said, I feel like some games aren't hard enough, but having the option to... Really? aren't hard enough. But having the option to go easier is a good thing too. If or when my kids start to experience games, I feel like they would need to play on easy mode to be more successful with less frustrations. And I actually appreciate he said that, because a lot of these gatekeeping people on Twitter feel the opposite, which I don't understand. They're like, I had to earn my gaming skills by playing these NES games that were super difficult when I was a kid, and these kids need to earn it. Why?
So let's put little Timmy in front of Dark Souls and make him beat it.
Talk about getting good.
Yeah, right. Could you imagine like when you were a kid, that's like all you had to play was Dark Souls? Like,
but
you
I
wouldn't
would
like
say
games.
You would figure it out.
As a kid, we had a lot of time. I just figured out eventually.
You would get there,
right? But
although it is really funny when you revisit a game that was hard when you were a kid, like Jet Force Gemini, and then you play as an adult, and you're like, no, what was wrong with me? This is simple.
Man, there was a shmup on NES when I was a kid called Starship Hector that was so difficult I couldn't get past the first level. I kind of want to go back and see if that game is still hard or not.
Right, then you beat it in 45 minutes.
I doubt it, because I really do think it was difficult, but it's got me thinking about it. Like, that's, I don't know. Anyway.
I think a lot of modern games aren't hard enough for me. That's why I guess I think I'm mostly just thinking of Naughty Dog.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess now that I'm thinking about it more, so I take back what I said.
So just Naughty Dog games aren't hard enough?
Yeah. We have to play them on hard. But then, like, the Uncharted hard just isn't interesting. It's just bullet sponge enemies, which I think sucks.
I really don't like it. That's super not satisfying taking that.
No, I hate when your hard mode is just the enemies have more health and you have less health. That sucks.
And you have less bullets?
That's fine. I guess, well, depends on the setting. For me.
Yeah. I want to play devil's advocate a little bit. And
bring it on, man.
I'm going to preface this by saying I don't necessarily feel this way. What I've spent this last week since I posted this topic is trying to understand the mindset, which is why I was kind of bummed that nobody from our community responded, in the opposite of how everybody else did. We're all like this happy community that like other people, which is a good thing. It just was unfortunate for this conversation. But I've been really, really thinking of hard ways to understand that mindset. And I'm not going to go as far as to say I understand or agree with it. Now, let me rephrase. I don't agree with it, but I can understand the mindset to some degree. I'm going to try.
You're not saying you agree with it, but you understand.
But I understand, yeah. No. You remember the documentary Video Games, the movie? That I actually reviewed on my former podcast, The Hollywood Outsider. Got to talk to the director. And at the very beginning of it, Will Wheaton was comparing video games to movies. And he said, he loves movies. He starred in movies. He starred in television shows. So obviously he appreciates the medium. But for him, video games was much more special because you almost felt an ownership with it. You know what I mean? It was your experience. And I think that for some people, video games have been their experience. They grew up with it. They almost feel like there's an ownership there. Now, they don't own it, clearly, right? They experience somebody else's art. So they're the furthest away from owning it. But they grew up like I did, and you guys apparently, that video games weren't cool. Now video games are kind of cool. A lot of people a lot of people in pop culture that admit they play video games, I'm shocked because back in the day it was almost like a badge of shame if you admitted that you liked it.
Right now Henry Cavill streaming building his laptop or his computer.
I know.
Right. It just like people that are cool are playing video games now, so all of a sudden and I understand the fear of something that you hold as precious as we do, like video games, being overtaken by quote-unquote posers or people that aren't actually into it. They just want to be part of pop culture, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not agreeing with this. I can see you looking at me in judgment right now. I think I understand that mindset a little bit, in that they don't want something that is very near and dear to their heart to be overtaken by the negativity of the world, or the people that they don't respect, like taking over their hobby. So when people look at an easy mode and they go to and they use that and say, I beat this game, and they go on social media and talk about this awesome game they played, which they more or less watched a movie instead. So they had a movie-like experience instead of a game-like experience. You with me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not defending people that think this way. I'm just trying to spill my thought process this week and how some people get to this. And then you bolster that with the anonymity of Twitter or social media in general that just kind of embolden them to say whatever they want. So it feels like some people don't actually even feel that strongly about it. They're just worried about something that is precious to them being overtaken by people that they don't like. And I kind of understand that. I just think that they're just being a little bit strong on the gate. So
yeah, I mean, the antagonism fuels the flames on both sides. Where there are the gatekeepers who are like, well, beating on easy doesn't count. But then like there are people who are like, berate people who take pride in beating things on hard.
Right.
Like it is a two-way problem. But that's the problem with Twitter, though. Generally,
well, that's the problem with anonymity and at all, is like you can say anything you want without any repercussions, except maybe your account gets banned and then you just build another account.
So then people do hold you to repercussions and you act surprised and you're like, what are you doing? Why are you blowing up my mentions?
Why'd you say it publicly if you didn't?
It boggles the mind.
Like people just want something to be said, and then no one to challenge it.
Everyone to agree with them.
Yeah, just disagree with me because I'm right, because I feel this way. At the end of the day, I have been clamoring for anyone and everyone to play video games with me since I was a kid. Even as a tiny kid playing Atari 2600, I wanted nothing more than my mom or dad to come play with me and mash these buttons with me, because it was something that I loved. They didn't, and I could share that with them and get them to see how cool it was for me. And as the technology has increased, that desire has increased. If it takes someone to play a game on easy, to put a controller in their hands and get that much closer to understanding why this hobby why I'm so passionate about this hobby, I am all for it. Play it on easy mode. Watch it on YouTube. I don't care. Just make this thing legitimize what I love to do.
An anecdotal story. I got my coworker to play The Last of Us just this past week because she was looking for game recommendations, and she's playing it on easy. It didn't diminish our conversation of how great it is at all. Mm-hmm. I don't care that she had ammo where I didn't. I mean, it makes funny conversations where like I always remember the sewer part because of how hard it was, because I had like 3 bullets when you get rushed, and to her she's like, oh, I didn't even. Because she had so many bullets that she like barely remembered the section at all, even though she just played it. Like, that's just funny, but it's not. I don't think it's not. I don't get upset about it. Right? Like, it doesn't. It doesn't diminish our ability to have a conversation about the relationship between Joel and Ellie.
Right. I mean, none of that's going to affect the story at all. I mean, in a game like that, your decisions don't affect what happens in the story. You're still going to follow a linear path in the story, no matter how you get there. Yeah,
but like for me, it helps sell the atmosphere of how oppressive that world is when I do only have one smoke bomb for the next hour.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, to further my point and kind of to reiterate what you were saying earlier about how the other side is also oppressive about, like, almost making fun of us for wanting the challenge or whatever. That's something that I struggle with all the time is when people that are so negative about something that you love so much, like me clearing a map in Assassin's Creed, or grinding in a JRPG, doing little menial things like that make my experience make me feel like a god later, is an awesome feeling. Whereas some people just want to feel like a god right now. They want that immediate gratification.
And then I don't want to feel like a god at all at any point.
Sure. And it all comes down to we all want to experience things different ways, right?
And because of the power of the medium, you're allowed to do that.
Right. That should
when you
be
watch something like a trash film, you only experience it the one way.
I'm trying so hard. But I mean, anybody can watch a movie, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can sit down and watch a movie. You could all you're doing is it's a passive experience. You're watching it. Again, not knocking the medium whatsoever.
Yeah,
but
just to clarify, I'm only making fun of it for Aaron and Amanda, who probably aren't even listening to this.
But with the game, that's what I love about games is even on the early NES days when I was playing a game and I got that cutscene, it was like I earned that because I made my way through it.
Yeah, I remember that feeling, especially like the PS1 era, where you like the cutscene was a reward.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the mentality of some of these people. I think is that they feel like they've earned video games, like modern video games, whereas other people haven't lived all the way through it. So I think there's some mentality there.
That's a common American problem where if I had to struggle through something and earn it, you have to justify the pain you went through by ensuring everyone else struggles.
Right.
That's a very American outlook.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But at the same time, I like earning those experiences.
Yeah, for me, I don't care. Yeah. I'm just, if I meet somebody I can talk to about the ending of The Last of Us, I don't care how they got there. I'm just excited I get to talk about it.
Exactly. 100%.
Me too.
100%. So that was a spirited topic, guys. Again, thank you to our community for being awesome. I just wish we could have got a little bit more of the other side, but it's just so cool that everybody is pleasant. Everyone that responded is pleasant. I would just like to hear the other side a little bit because I feel like I had to make up my own mind about what is going on in the minds of other people that feel that way. So, we're going to have another topic next week. So stay tuned to our social medias, Facebook, Discord, and Twitter for what that's going to be. And looking forward to it for sure. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words or recommendations before we get out of here?
I mentioned a few weeks ago I had started reading The Rising Storm, the newest Star Wars The High Republic novel, and I have completed it, and it's definitely one of the best Star Wars books. I am shocked in the Disney era how much sex and violence is in this Star Wars book.
Nice,
but the Rising Storm is definitely crafted with the adult fan in mind. Which I don't have a problem with things being for the family, right? But we don't get a lot of like adult oriented Star Wars in the Disney era. You know, even The Mandalorian is very family friendly overall. You know,
right?
And that's just the tone they're going for. That's fine, but it's cool to read this book where it's a little bit. It reminds me of the old Star Wars Expanded Universe books where it did get a little grimmer and darker. It's good stuff, and again, like. This book ends, and I have no idea what's coming next for this era of Star Wars because it's 200 years before anything that matters. So, like, anything is in the ballpark of a possibility. It's very exciting.
Nice. I'm actually super excited too about this. Is related but not that Animatrix Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
that's coming.
Visions.
I just think that looks so cool.
They have apparently a couple of the shorts are after episode 9.
Really?
That's very exciting.
That is exciting. I am stoked about that. Never too much Star Wars.
No.
Yeah, awesome. I do tend to agree.
Alyssa, how about you?
I am halfway through season 2 of Beastars on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
I don't hear anyone talk about that. It's an anime.
Oh, Beastars?
Yeah. Never hear anyone talk about it, but it's so good. And if you just see like a preview of it, you're gonna think it's some weird show.
You'll think it's Anime Zootopia.
Pretty much, but once you start watching, it is a very dark story. It's a detective, kind of like a detective story, but it's also following these, herbivores and carnivores that go to school together, and just the main character, Legoshi, is a wolf. He falls in love with a rabbit named Haru. They have different personalities, and then there's all this other stuff going on. There's violence, like there's gangs, like they're kind of like Yakuza, but they're not. It's just surpasses everything you think it's going to be just from a brief glimpse at it. It's just so good, and the second season is just keeps building up, and it's wonderful.
I only watched the first season, but I like that the personalities of the wolf and rabbit are like flipped from what you would think. Like the wolf is a very like anxious, kind of stressed out dude, and then the rabbit is very standoffish and kind of a introvert.
She's not afraid of him.
Yeah, she's just.
But he's afraid of her.
Right, she's got a very f around and find out kind of attitude.
Nice.
It's a cool show. A very unique art style for an anime.
Oh, it is, yeah.
It's on Netflix, you said?
It is, yeah.
All right.
It doesn't do the annoying anime thing where they end every sentence by question marking the last thing the other person said. Like Metal Gear?
Yeah, it doesn't do that.
No, it does not.
I have a show to recommend as well. It's an old one, 2007. But I'm on a mission to get Zack to watch The Leftovers sometime in the near future.
I haven't seen that one either.
A 1-day long mission.
No. Just as of today, this is my goal, to get you to finish Asylum and to watch Leftovers. If you're not familiar, it's an HBO series. It's written by Damon Lindelof, as well as it's actually co-written, but I forgot to write down the name of the other writer. I just know Lindelof from Lost.
Right.
But it is a story, 3 seasons, 10 episodes each, so 30 episodes. The basic premise is that 3% of the Earth's population just up and vanishes one day in October. And it's all about the people of Earth dealing with that. And this show has some of the most compelling, interesting characters I've ever watched on TV. It's just so interesting, and it definitely has that Lost flavor to it, where there's a lot of intrigue, and it's Lindelof, so you're not going to have quite the. It's a Lindelof, if you know what I mean that by saying it's written by Lindelof.
Yeah.
But I found it much more satisfying ending than Lost. I know Zach and I differ on our opinions of that show. I love the show up until the ending. Kind of like how he feels about Game of Thrones. But
yeah, there you go. Whereas I love Lost and its ending.
Yeah. It's really interesting, man. There are some character moments, and I watched an episode today. I believe it's episode 8 of season 2 that I'm rewatching the series. I watched it back when it released, and I'm rewatching it just because I love the show so much. This episode is just a sheer work of art. It just such a range of emotions, and plus the intrigue of what in the hell is going on in this episode is just so good. I genuinely can't wait to have like a text conversation with you about some of these characters. It's just really good. Plus, there's a lot of actors in it that I wasn't expecting to see. Like some of them are kind of surprises as you go through, and I appreciated that. So The Leftovers on HBO. I know it's an old show, but it is worth a rewatch if you did not see it in the beginning. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. The Gaming Outsider is produced by Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemmage and Metroid Metal. You heard us talk about him earlier with his comment. His website, again, is stemagemusic.com, STEMAGE music.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Alyssa White, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.